Hi. Slow one today. Not that I'm complaining. Just did a bunch of side stuff in Inquisition. Just about got all the areas I currently have open cleared out of all the stuff I can stomach to do anyway. Wash my sheets because halfway through sleeping I woke up and I was just soaked in sweat. Like, it was unpleasant. Like, I actually had to sit up and turn back my covers and let it just kind of like dry and cool before I laid back down. Don't know what that was. Like, I generally sweat, don't get me wrong. But it's not usually so bad, like, that I felt enveloped in it. Like, it was like a thin layer across everything, and everything, across my whole body and everything that my body was touching. Not pleasant. That's about it. I'm sitting here just kind of trying to think, while also trying not to fall asleep. And nah, that's about all I got. E3 hasn't really been stupid exciting so far. It's not been garbage. Don't get me wrong. Um, New Mario and Rabbids was announced. That's genuinely exciting. Um, Everybody's complaining about Square Enix, but like a lot of their projects are in mid. At least the ones I'm interested in would be in middling territory. 16 doesn't appear to have any more substantial material than they had last year. That's understandable. Um, I think with 16 they did something similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you know, they got a good like release trailer going well before um, they were around the time they were, they were actually starting to make the game, if that makes sense. Um, which we know one of the reasons Final Fantasy VII Remake took so long, even after that initial teaser with both gameplay and cutscenes, is that initial combat system didn't pan out, and while the new one sort of, at least at a glance resembled it, we know that big hurdle was um, redesigning the combat system. But at the same time, it's way too early to expect any two, like maybe a teaser for part two next year. But considering A, the original has only been out a year, a little over a year, and B, a updated version with extra content just released on next gen platforms, which fuck you, Square Enix, for that. Uh, yeah, it's too early to expect anything from that. Um, I think with his involvement in remake, we can't really have expected Umatsu, not Umatsu, Nomura to have made much progress on whatever the next entry of Kingdom Hearts is going to be, because it's not going to be 5. If they just go straight from, I mean, 5, 4, if they just go straight from 3 to 4, it'll be the first time ever. And I'm not counting Remind because, as far as I'm concerned, Remind was more or less the whole final mix thing. All the other Kingdom Hearts did, pretty much. So we just, instead we just got a global release of base and then a global release of final mix. There's a stupidly gritty remake of Final Fantasy 1 with a dumb name that I can't remember, but it looks fun to play. um, During the Square Enix bit, Platinum premiered. I don't know if it was a premiere or not, but I don't remember it from past. So it was probably the first time it's in gameplay. Game called Babylon's Fall, which looked again fun to play, and it's Platinum. It'll be fun to play. There was a lot of the presentation dedicated to a Guardians of the Galaxy game, which everybody seems to be shitting all over. Probably based on how the Avengers game they put out a few years ago did. But like this one at least seems a little more probably a lot more focused, because like what I gathered from different sources on the original was that it was a little unfocused. And this, at least, it at least seemed this game knew what it wanted to be, which was just big time action. You only play one character. It's a single player story driven game instead of whatever Avengers was supposed to be. I think if you're already a fan of the property, it could be fun. It looked fun to play. The talent was playing well off each other, even though it's not, it wasn't the movie ones, but it didn't feel as distant from the movie ones as Avengers did. And that's not the team's fault, honestly. With as far as the base game, Tony Stark not being Robert Downey Jr. is not the team's fault. That's not really something you could blame the developer for. I thought it looked fine. It didn't excite. Like, I wasn't stupid excited over it, but it wasn't like I was thinking. It's not like I thought it was garbage. I think a lot of people were like, maybe I just had extremely low expectations because I thought it was fine. There have definitely been much worse Square Enix presentations, in my opinion. The year before Kingdom Hearts came out comes to mind because I remember that presentation having little to nothing of a lot of their. They got Keith David to voice it. I think it was Keith David or someone of his caliber to voice. It was only like 15 minutes long. There was no mention of anything Final Fantasy at the time. I think this was shortly after the second round of 15's DLC was shit canned. And the Kingdom Hearts trailer was the same Kingdom Hearts trailer that played at a different conference the day before. I want to say it was the Xbox conference. This was long enough ago that Sony was still doing E3s. So it was either the Xbox or the Sony one, and whichever one it was not, had a better trailer. Um, so like there was a trailer that premiered first, I believe, in the Xbox one that was odd. Like sound effects were missing, and it's to this day we don't know if it was an artistic choice or a glitch. That same trailer was in the dedicated Square Enix Direct thing, and then I believe it was the Sony conference actually had a solid trailer with both cinematic and gameplay elements in it. It was just like you didn't even save the good trailer for your own Square Enix thing. Oh my god. If I was disappointed by anything, it's that they had a this year. It's that they had a nice little they had a little mobile segment, uh, and just none of it had dates on it. Like I am genuinely wanting to play the Near game um, when it's localized. Don't know when that's happening. I am genuinely wanting to play the Final Fantasy VII one, the First Soldier, I think it's called. Like that's the first battle royale I'm actually kind of looking forward to playing because it looks fun. Um, but like all of it was just vague dates. So eh. It looks like they're doing a fateful remastering of Final Fantasies 1 through 6 for Steam, meaning it won't be the weird. They there's like these odd ports of 5 and 6 on Steam with the weirdest sprite designs. Like if it looks like default RPG Maker sprites, but bootleg mobile versions. It genuinely just looks like a bootleg mobile game. Um, what it looks like they're going back and doing sprite faithful, pixel. They call them pixel remasters, I think, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, that looks interesting. You know, I can dig that. Although if they were remastering 3 and 4, I kind of wish they were doing just cleaning up the DS ones. Um, because those were actually good remakes that I've just never taken the time to finish, despite getting pretty far in both of them. But that could be cool, especially if it's offered as a collection for a decent price. Here's 6 Final Fantasy games for $50, or even $60, $10 a pop. Like, you know, for the price of a new game, a new AAA game, you get 6 classic RPGs. 4 and 6, I can personally vouch for being really good. Especially 6. 6 is really, really good. Um, Something that was mildly interesting to me that I probably will never look at was a Borderlands spin-off game uh, in the style of that one Borderlands 2 DLC, where it's I can't remember the name of the fake game, but it's basically Dungeons and Dragons Borderlands style with Tiny Tina as the dungeon master. And there's like a whole Tiny Tina. I think it's called Wonderlands. And I'm like, all right, that's a cute idea. Um, and it doesn't seem like there's a claptrap in sight, so you know, maybe it won't make me want to kill myself. given as that's the general effect Claptrap has on me these days. There was a time when I thought he was funny. There may have even been a time where he was funny. I think that time was the mid 2000s, and it's just not funny anymore. I don't know if I've changed or if just the state of humor has changed, because maybe Claptrap was a little ahead of the curve in the original Borderlands, and then by Borderlands 2, when he was twice as bad, he was already behind the curve, and I just wanted him to stop. Like, for every Claptrap line that genuinely made me laugh in Borderlands 2, there was about 10 minutes of painfully unfunny. So there's that. And then at this point, the only one I'm still looking forward to, the only presentation I'm still looking forward to is Nintendo. And that's not until Tuesday. I'm actually going to have to set an alarm for it because it's noon and I've been waking up at like 3. So I'll probably get up, groggily watch it, and go back to sleep. I'm keeping my expectations tempered. I'm hoping we'll finally hear something about Breath of the Wild 2. But if not, I'm fairly sure we can expect it. Let's see. I don't know if they'll probably do a throwaway bit. I really hope they don't like hard push the Skyward remake, just because it's coming out, I think, next month. Like my expectations are pretty much tempered to probably the last 2 Smash characters. Definitely at least one of them, but the last time there was a Smash reveal at E3, it was 2 characters, so we'll probably get the same thing, where one is available that day, or very soon, and the next one is like, and then tune in like a month and a half, and the next one will be ready. I'm hoping for details on the Age of Calamity DLC. Ideally there would be something about Breath of the Wild next. At this point, there probably needs to be, if not a full, well, I think they've already said they're not, everything in this presentation is going to be for the Switch. So maybe they'll tease an announcement about a hardware announcement in the near future. Because honestly, if they don't have something ready for, if it's not there tomorrow, I'd probably be one of the few that's like, well, look, the last year has been dumb, and it probably slowed down a lot of physical production. A lot. I know Japan in general had probably some of the hardest, as far as transitioning to working from home. I think it was a lot harder for them than a lot of other places, because from what I understand, Japan is an extremely social culture, and like a lot of them aren't like other places, like a decent amount of Europe and the U.S., where we just have powerful machines sitting at home ready and all that stuff. And just a lot of Japan homes weren't ready for that kind of thing. And so, like, when it comes to affecting workflow, I know it was I believe it was a lot more of a adjustment there than it was here. Uh, I think Sakurai said as much in one or two of his little Smash mini directs. Um, so if we don't hear anything about a Switch Pro, I bet that it's not because it doesn't exist, but it's because it's just not ready yet. What with hardware shortages and just COVID garbage in general. I also feel like if there's not anything on Breath of the Wild 2, um, that if not during the direct, but soon after, the date of they'll have like, but next month, tune in the 27th of July, and we'll have a direct dedicated to it. Finally, we're just not quite there yet. But yeah, based on what I know is coming up, obviously the perfect would be not necessarily a release date, but a solid progress update on Prime 4. Um, well, realistically, I wouldn't expect a release date, but maybe they'll have something for it. Ideally, it would be almost done, and it would be fantastic. I'm not expecting a Prime trilogy anytime soon. I think it's gonna have, similar to the trilogy version as opposed to Corruption. I think it's gonna have to partially be based on. I think they're gonna need to finish 4 first, and then decide if they can retroactively apply the control scheme to 1, 2, and 3, and if not, figure out how best to have that run on the Switch. I think is the way I want that to work. But no, yeah, ideally there'd either be a good progress update on Prime 4, and if not, some kind of 2D Metroid to help tide us over a little longer. Either, and again, they're ideally a unique game, but maybe a remake of Super in some way. Maybe made for the Switch, not the DS. Um, as good as Samus Returns was. What with that platform being mostly gone. I'm rambling. It's been over 20 minutes. I want to go to sleep. I'll catch you all tomorrow.